Good day and welcome to you, Westchester Talk Radio. So we are westchestertalkradio.com. I'm John Marino, and we are brought to you by Entergy, the Indian Point Energy Center. We are joined here now on Westchester Talk Radio by Robert P. Weisz, President and CEO of his group that he works with. And Robert, tell us your company name. I'm going to let you do that.
Sure. It's RPW Group.
The RPW Group, the Robert P. Weisz Group. And you are located where?
In Rye Brook, New York.
You are headquartered in Rye Brook. Now, Robert, you're with us here on Westchester Talk Radio because the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon is having their gala event, their 2020 annual gala, except this year it's going to be a little different. It's going to be a virtual gala done online. It's going to be on Monday, June 8th, 2020 at 6 p.m. is when it's going to be. And you are going to be a big part of the festivities that night. That night you are going to get the annual Leadership Award given out by the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon. And with this Leadership Award, obviously, it's an award you earn. They just don't give you something like that. How does it feel to be the honoree of the Leadership Award, the recipient of the Leadership Award, Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon 2020?
Well, it's a great honor. And frankly, Mount Vernon is a place that is very dear to my heart. It's the first location in Westchester County where we start developing commercial buildings. And we had a close connection with the Boys and Girls Club. I'm very honored. I'm very grateful. And I'm glad that they made a mistake and they chose me.
A mistake. I don't think they make mistakes when they do things like that. By the way, the RPW Group is one of the leaders in real estate and commercial and property management in the tri-state area. So when you put the company together, and you put it together back in 1980, correct?
That's right.
And you first worked down in Mount Vernon and then worked your way all around the area. Where in Mount Vernon were you located, managing, dealing with real estate and property at that time?
Sure. To be accurate, we started in New Jersey in 1980, and we developed approximately 20 properties in New Jersey. And in 1988, we started acquiring properties in Westchester County. And the first building we bought was the old Edison High School in Mount Vernon on South 3rd Avenue, a building that was abandoned for probably 30 years. And we brought it back to life. It became also our headquarters. And from that point on, we kept on acquiring other properties in Mount Vernon and then throughout the county.
Now, where in New Jersey were you at that time when you got started?
Well, we started in Weehawken, New Jersey. Then we added properties in North Bergen, in Union City, in Passaic, and Newark.
And that's when Weehawken began to really get built up at that time. So you were involved with the rebuild in Weehawken, I would guess, back then.
That's right. Absolutely, yes.
Now, let's preface this and take it back to the beginning. You are not a native of the United States. You came from Montevideo, Uruguay to the U.S., correct?
That's correct.
Tell us about that story, about that journey. Your family came from South America. Where did they come to South America from before that?
Well, my family came from Eastern Europe. On my father's side from Poland, on my mother's side from Hungary. They went to Uruguay as little children. That's where I was born, and also I have 4 siblings. And then when the time came for me to go to college, the circumstances were such that I ended up going to college in Brazil, in São Paulo, Brazil. So I spent 40 years in Brazil going to an American school. When I graduated, I came to New York and I started a furniture company. And that furniture company grew, and eventually I needed a larger warehouse, and that put me in the real estate business. And from that point on, we have developed over 65 buildings.
Wow. And growing, 65 and growing, correct?
That's right.
You're growing every day.
Well, we are the frankly, the biggest change in our company is that my son has joined in the past 3 years, and he's correcting all the mistakes I made in the prior 30-something years, and now we are growing faster than ever.
That is your son, Andrew, and I think he's vice president of the company now, correct?
That's right. He's the executive vice president of the company. Yeah.
Who makes the final call on a decision? Is it collaborative between you and him, or is it, thanks for the advice, son, now let me do what I have to do?
Frankly, I have a great respect for his judgment, and we usually don't have disagreements. We just explore the issues, and we come to a final decision together.
Mm-hmm. And if you say a final decision together, what percentage of which do you make those final decisions in the end? 51 and 49 for him?
It's evolving very rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to make 100% of the decisions 3 years ago. I would think that my universe had shrunk to probably 20%, and he makes 80% of the decisions.
Well, mm-hmm. And you focus on other things. One of those things, the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon, all the work you've done for them. How did you get involved originally back with the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon? It's been around for more than 100 years, part of the overall network of Boys and Girls Clubs across the country. For you to get a leadership award from a group like that, obviously very well-deserved. I'm going to slide around here and point to you here. This is the big Mount Vernon Boys and Girls Club Gala banner behind me, and it's pretty small here. If you're on your home computer or a phone, you can blow up the size of this, but right where I'm pointing is the picture of Robert P. Weisz, who wins the Leadership Award. Give us the history, the genesis of how you got involved with the club.
Frankly, the first property we bought in Mount Vernon, the Edison High School, and again, that's 30 years ago, over 30 years ago. It's only a couple of blocks from the Boys and Girls Club. And if you know Mount Vernon is a very tight community. And so we supported the Boys and Girls Club as well as some of the other organizations. And at the time, Mount Vernon had a wonderful mayor. Ronald Blackwood was his name.
Mm-hmm.
He was just a terrific mayor and a terrific human being. And,
back in the 80s, he was very well respected back then, Mayor Blackwood.
Absolutely. And with him, I met Sal Quaranta. Sal Quaranta was an institution in Mount Vernon. He passed away in his late 90s, and he was active in Mount Vernon his entire life. And he was extremely philanthropic, and he was somebody that pointed me in the right direction as a newcomer to Mount Vernon, and brought me to the Boys and Girls Club, and as well as to some of the other organizations, the Y and others. And they do a terrific job. It's very needed in Mount Vernon. Unfortunately, Mount Vernon has a number of great pluses that makes Mount Vernon a very special place. At the same time, there is a lot of need, and there are a lot of families that need support. And the Boys and Girls Club is very instrumental in just supporting those kids and just show them the right way to approach life. And in general, they've been extremely successful.
Was there a certain moment along the way where you said to yourself, I have to do this with the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon, where maybe you thought about it before, maybe there could have been an incident or something along the way, an event where it convinced you, this is what I have to do, this is part of my calling in life?
I believe that all of us that been very fortunate and have the great opportunity of succeeding in this wonderful land have an obligation of getting involved. And so for me, it's just something that I always thought that it was something that I needed to do. And And there are some wonderful people that have been part of the organization, and I think that's a very important. As you know, uh, Pat Simone recently, and now the entire Simone family is going to take the recognition on his behalf. And Pat was one of the leaders in our community, in the real estate world, and many others. I mean, last year, Joe Armentano, another very good friend of ours, was the honoree. And so this is a very, very close family in a way where we all support each other, and we all work hard on the causes that we think are meaningful. And certainly, without a question, the Boys and Girls Club is one of the great institutions in Westchester County.
Lifetime Achievement Award to Pat Simone from the Simone Development Companies based in the Bronx. He'll be receiving his award that night as well, as you were alluding to. Robert P. Weisz is our guest. Robert P. Weisz from his company over in Rye Brook. And again, that company is
RPW Group.
Right? There you go. And mainstay with the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon for decades. Robert, over at the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon, they talk about things like what they want for the kids who come through the program, for example, academic success, a healthy lifestyle, and civic responsibility. Of course, you getting the Leadership Award, that's top of the line when it comes to civic responsibility. You've worked together with so many great people there through the years. A guy like Lowe's Moore, for example, who retired after 27 years with the group, and he was the executive director of development for a long time. What was it like working with a guy like Lowe's, who I know is so dedicated to his community of Mount Vernon for so long?
Well, I think that what the Boys Club does, in essence, obviously academics and are important, but the core, the essence is it builds character in these young people. And for him, it was very easy to do that because he was a person of character and he had the right values. All he had to do was just convey who he was, and the kids could just learn from seeing him and interacting with him. And I think that the foundation, the most important aspect of one's life, is the principles and the values that really lead your life. And that's what the Boys and Girls Club really works on getting these kids on the right track and succeeding in most cases.
Lowe's also, too, had the advantage of being a hometown star, a big basketball star in West Virginia, played locally here for the Nets for a few years, and I believe he's an ordained minister nowadays, too. I remember a few years back when he was studying for that. So you put together a Lowe's Moore and a Robert Weisz and a Pat Simone and so many other great people who'll be winning awards, for example, Monday night, June 8th with you, 6 p.m., the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon, the annual Gala, virtual gala this year, the Corporate Citizenship Award. April Horton, External and Governmental Affairs Director at Verizon. She gets the Corporate Citizenship Award. The alumni honoree is Jack McArdle, Vice President of the Arthur Gallagher Group Company in White Plains. And the presentation of the Youth of the Year Award goes to young man Mr. Devon, again, second time in 3 years for him, Javon Vaughn, and for him to do that twice in 3 years, you know, that is quite a young man to be able to win that award 2 times in 3 years. For you, Robert P. Weisz, what are you looking to do now after so many years with the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon from here on out as you continue your work with them? You volunteered through the years. You've given of your time. You've given of your money financially and personally as well, to the things you have done, your investment. You've invested in so many ways. How do you talk to people when you look for other people to join what you do and try to get them to be part of the Boys and Girls Club and help in any way that they can? What's your pitch to them?
Frankly, it's a very easy presentation. I mean, all you need to do is talk about the kids, and people just get engaged. And the future of this country is in that generation. And we need to to support them and help them in every way we can. And when you have solid institutions that are creating this environment where these kids can thrive, it's not a hard sale for people to join and be very active. And that's been the case with the Boys and Girls Club. And in my case, frankly, when you have a good thing going, you don't want to change it. So I don't want to change anything in the future. I want to just keep doing what I'm doing right now and continue supporting the Boys and Girls Club. And I have no doubt that things are going to get bigger and better as we move on.
Do we have enough of a partnership, enough of a public-private partnership, private people like you, and yet we have, the government government does what they do. Do we have enough government investment in groups like Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon and so many other groups like this? And I don't mean just from a financial standpoint. I mean from an overall community support standpoint. Can government do more? We know government always should. Can they do more?
Well, it's a tough question. The need it's so much greater than the resources, financial and otherwise. So there is always a possibility for us to have access to more volunteers, more financial resources, more government support. Mount Vernon is at a point where there is a wonderful new mayor that just started. First female mayor in the history of Mount Vernon.
And her name is?
I'm sure you will remember. And she's terrific. And she's going to do a great job in Mount Vernon. And so we think that that's going to be a big factor in terms of the government support that the organization is going to receive.
Mm-hmm. So we are heading in the right direction, you believe, in the city governmentally from the mayor's office as to the kind of support you think you will be getting from here on out.
Oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt that the city is going to help, and we have a great county executive that I'm sure that is going to be very supportive as well. He's originally from Mount Vernon. He was born in Mount Vernon.
George Latimer. George
Latimer. Yes. Mm-hmm. So there is Mount Vernon is at the crossroad of the center of the world practically. Usually, when you meet somebody and you mention Mount Vernon, there is always a connection. People were born there, or their parents, or their grandparents. So as we move on and Mount Vernon continues to evolve, I'm sure that we're going to see a lot of good things happening.
And they also know the great athletic contributions of the city of Mount Vernon to the NBA, for example, with the Williams brothers, Gus and Ray Williams, and the McRae brothers, Scooter and Rodney. Gus Williams and McRae brothers, all members of the Westchester Sports Hall of Fame, as is Lowe's Moore. I had the honor to induct Gus Williams and Lowe's Moore into the Hall of Fame as the Master of Ceremonies for a number of years of the Westchester Sports Hall of Fame. Great honor to induct those guys. Also from the world of baseball, Kenny Singleton, of course, too, and Fred Singleton, great track star at Mount Vernon now. The track coach for many years at White Plains High School, runs the Louch track and field games at White Plains High. Roy Smith, big basketball star at Mount Vernon, baseball star too, pitched for a long time in the big leagues, mostly with the Minnesota Twins. That athletic list in Mount Vernon, amongst others, so many political people who came out of Mount Vernon and helped direct and guide the city through the years and through the decades as well. It's a city that I guess we could say is second to none.
Listen, it's only 4 square miles. And if we had 2 hours, I'm sure you had names to list.
To run off forever and ever. Amen on that. You talk about 4 square miles. It's not about the size, though. It's about the impact, correct?
That's right. It's also the most densely populated city in the state of New York, believe it or not.
Yeah, that it is, too. So that's why so much good comes out of the city of Mount Vernon. Now, Robert Weisz, before you go, I know you kidded around about they made a mistake in giving you this award when we opened up. But tell us, How does this really make you feel getting an award like this, the Leadership Award 2020 Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon at the upcoming annual gala Monday night, June 8th at 6 p.m. Virtually done this year.
Listen, I'm very grateful. I'm very honored. I'm very humble, and at the same time, it's you don't get involved to be recognized. So in a way, it's a little embarrassing to be in this position because we are doing what we are supposed to be doing. We are not doing this for a recognition or for any other reason. So, but if that helps to attract more people, and I understand we're going to have probably the most successful gala in the history of the Boys and Girls Club. So the revenue couldn't be used for a better cause. And in spite of the fact that it's a virtual gala, I don't know if that's a reason, maybe, but whatever the case may be,
whatever works, as they say,
whatever
right?
works,
yeah,
we're going to have more funds than we ever did before. And we are extremely grateful to all the donors and all the people that are supporting the event. And we are thrilled to be part of it.
Mm-hmm. I like your point about how when you do something like this and contribute the way you do, you don't really want the name recognition for it. You're doing it because it's the right thing. And I've worked with a lot of groups through the years. I remember a few years back, group wanted to give me an award, and I said, I had something else to do that day. You know what? No awards for me. Do what you do. Give that award to somebody else and just tell me what you need me to do next. When you said that, made me think of that immediately. That's what it's all about. It's not about somebody saying, congratulations for this, or, we think what you did there was something that was outstanding or whatever it might be. You do it because it's the right thing to do, and you don't really need the recognition. And in your case here, though, you're getting the recognition because you deserve it so much for all you've done for close to 40 years now for the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon. And it's been around for a century. You've been around for almost half of the time the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon has been in existence. We know you're going to be involved for so much more, for so much longer, and that's the best possible thing for the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon. And I do want you and your family to enjoy the Leadership Award you'll be given on Monday night, June 8th. Robert P. Weisz, Robert Weisz from the RPW group, correct, of Rye Brook, real estate, commercial property management. For anybody who would like to get in touch with the RPW group of Rye Brook and talk about real estate, property management, etc., maybe talk a deal with you, what should they do?
They can call us up and they can email us. We are very easy to find, and so we'll be glad to talk about anything. But right now, what we are talking about is the Boys and Girls Club and business. And we will talk business at another time. We can talk
business another time. Yeah. Always good to have you talk about who you work for when we talk to somebody about the company you work for and what you do. That's always, I think, a good tie-in. And for the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon, tell us one more time what this means to you. What does this mean to your heart, what this is all about?
Well, when you talk about the Boys and Girls Club, you're really talking about kids. And when you talk about kids, you talk about the future. You talk about what is the most important thing in everyone's life. So I believe that this is a great opportunity for a lot of people to get together and support an amazing cause that is supporting kids that sometimes they don't have the support they need at home for whatever the circumstances. And the Boys and Girls Club provides that. And I think in essence, it just builds their character and makes them productive, solid human beings. And that's what we need. We need great citizens that are going to take this country into the future to continue growing and expanding. And so we need good people. And that's what the Boys and Girls Club really delivers. Great, great people.
In 1971, the legendary, iconic James Brown had a big hit song called Get Involved. And I think in 2 words, that's what it comes down to. Get involved, correct?
Absolutely. You mentioned so many names in the sport world. I can mention one name, and the Boys and Girls Club is incredibly proud of him, and that is Denzel Washington.
Yes.
Denzel Washington is a product of the Boys and Girls Club. So if a youngster that grew up in Mount Vernon in a family of limited resources can become who Denzel Washington is today, that tells you what the Boys and Girls Club can do in the life of a young person.
Now, I know Denzel Washington has done so much for the club through the years. I did not bring up his name because I know he doesn't like to get the accolades for doing what he's done for the Boys and Girls Club. I know he feels like it was the right thing to do, like you. He's doing his part, and no one needs to congratulate him on that. I know he feels like that. He attended Fordham University, graduated a couple of years before I did. And me personally, I think that he's the greatest actor of this generation, no doubt. He came out of the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon, an accomplished athlete, running back, high school, Mount Vernon High School, I believe, when he attended Mount Vernon High. Also, I'll go through life with a phrase he used in the movie The Philadelphia Story back in the mid to late 90s. And I think he played a cop in that movie, if I remember right, a detective. And whenever he needed to find out some kind of information, he would say, explain it to me like a 2-year-old. Explain it to me like a 4-year-old. Explain it to me like a 6-year-old. And I think about that in life. And when I need something explained to me, I always quote Denzel and say, explain it to me like a 2-year-old. Although sometimes I need to have whatever it is explained to me like a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old. So I think when Denzel spoke those lines, he might have had me in mind, no doubt about that. Just a great actor. Also in the movie I think is the best movie of all time, Training Day with Ethan Hawke from, I think, 2001. Talk about a product of the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon. Best product possibly could have come out of there. Denzel Washington and all he's done for the city and the community and for the club ever since. And not only for the acting world, for the entire world. He's very community involved, very socially involved in the field of social justice and so much more. So if you're looking for someone to point to as to what you can be coming out of the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon, I think Denzel he should be on this poster here. He would be the poster boy, the poster child for what the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon is all
about. Absolutely. I think going back to what I personally believe is the most important aspect of what the Boys and Girls Club delivers, which is character. And when you talk about Denzel Washington, the word character couldn't apply more in every
academic
sense of
success.
the word.
Mm-hmm.
In every sense.
In every sense. Healthy
every
lifestyle.
Sense of the word. Yes,
civic
absolutely.
Responsibility, he's all that wrapped into one, and so much more, as are so many who come out of the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon, as is Mr. Robert P. Weisz, the RPW group in Rye Brook. Again, he wins the Leadership Award for 2020 at the upcoming virtual, it's going to be online this year, the annual Gala for the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon, Monday, June 8th at 6 p.m. Now, for more information about sponsorships and how you can get involved with the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon for the annual Gala, what you should do is get in contact with the Hospitality Resource Group, our good friend Robert Sanders at the Hospitality Resource Group, helping to put together the event this year for the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon. Hospitality Resource Group is located in White Plains. You can contact them by phone at 914-761-7111, 914-761-7111, or email Tricia, Tricia, that's Tricia, at hrginc.net, hrginc.net, or go to bcgmvny.org/Gala for the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon. Again, bcgmvny.org/Gala. And to find out how to be the next Robert P. Weisz, how to donate your time and your life to the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon, donate anything you can, your time or maybe something financially. Every little bit helps, whether it's time or money. Call the club direct. Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon. Want to volunteer? They can always use more volunteers, call them at 914-668-9580, 914-668-9580. When you do, tell them you heard about it from us right here at Westchester Talk Radio. And we had a great pleasure today, to talk with Robert P. Weisz from the RPW group in Rye Brook. Robert, again, thanks for all you've done for the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon, for the entire Westchester community, and congratulations on winning the 2020 Leadership Award. Enjoy the Gala event, the big poster behind me here, the big Gala event at the Boys and Girls Club of Mount Vernon on Monday, June 8th at 6 p.m. Robert, been a pleasure, and congratulations again. All the best to you and yours. Enjoy the Gala event on Monday.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you for all of your time today to talk with us here on Westchester Talk Radio. We know you have a lot more to do for the Boys and Girls Club in preparation for the event on Monday night, so we'll let you go ahead and do that. We are Westchester Talk Radio. I'm John Marino, WestchesterTalkRadio.com, produced by Shark Creative and made possible by our good friends at Entergy, the Indian Point Energy Center in Buchanan. Catch all of our Westchester Talk Radio programming on our YouTube page, the Shark, S-H-A-R-C with a C, not a K, the Shark Creative YouTube page from WestchesterTalkRadio.com and Shark Creative. We thank you.